along with other scientists, found evidence of subduction zone earthquakes and tsunamis along the Pacific Northwest coast. He also taught geology at various universities and community colleges. And Mark's post-academic career and research includes volunteering with 350 Portland, Extinction Rebellion in Portland, Climate Jobs, a committee of Portland Jobs with Justice, Council 75 American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees Environmental Caucus. Mark is a true activist, and he is here to talk to us today about what they've been doing in Portland to spread the word on degrowth.
Okay, so we're ready to roll. Okay, well, thank you very much. And I'm just going to go through when I first got introduced to degrowth. And it was through a book club I was with, nothing to do with Extinction Rebellion or Scientist Rebellion, but it was a couple of years ago, this book group decided to read a book called The Future is Degrowth, A Guide to the World Beyond Capitalism by Schmelzer, Vetter, and Van Sinchen. But also several of us also read Less is More, How Degrowth Will Save the World by Jason Hinkle. So after several discussions, we really got into it and really liked what we heard because it followed what we as individuals really liked about how the world should be. And one of our group found this movie called Outgrow the System, a documentary about degrowth and other aspects, donut economics, participatory economy, and other aspects of a better world from an economic perspective. And so she thought that we always fight battles, stopping fossil fuel expansion, et cetera. We really kind of should show a vision of what the world should be like. And it's not something new. I mean, a lot of groups have visions, but for us in Portland, this really struck a chord that we really need to start thinking about vision. And so we got excited about the movie. We saw the trailer. I got excited about the movie, and we decided to show it within Portland. So we got together with the director, and we were able to get the film to show in Portland. And we formed a subcommittee, and we organized it, and we put a lot of word out about it. And when we advertised it, we didn't really talk about degrowth necessarily because a couple of people that we talked to didn't quite understand degrowth. Even I understood it, and our group understood it. We started calling it the well-being economy, which is pretty much the same thing. It's not something new, but we thought that it may have more resonance with people. And the film, we had a standing room only crowd. We were really shocked about how many people came. And this was after the election of Trump. And so I don't know if that generated the amount of people that came, but a lot of people were excited about it. And we were excited. We were shocked about how many people came. We thought we had a big enough venue, but it was not big enough. And so what we did was we showed it, and we had panel sessions right after. And with the panelists we chose were groups that really walked the talk of degrowth in a sense of well-being economy. They included like the Black Oregon Land Trust, which is they ensure that Black communities have secure and affordable land access, protected ecosystems, and earth stewardship skills to create thriving futures through unprecedented change. And plus other groups that dealt with energy efficiency, participatory budgeting. So we had a good panel that was made up of, it was a very diverse panel. And so we found some good speakers. And during that showing of the film, we asked people to submit questions about that they had about degrowth. And from those questions, after the movie, we decided wanted to continue the discussion about degrowth and not just let it stop at that film. And so what we did was a couple things. And we decided to start a blog that started to answer some of the questions that were brought up during this. We asked people to write down questions, and we tried to address some of those questions via a blog. And for example, one question was how do you translate the goals of a well-being economy into our current structure, economic system? So we tried to answer that through the blog. And I can always give you that link to the blog that you can read what we've written. And so that's something that we decided to do. And also, this is something that we should have done sooner, but we waited till the next year to really contact the people who were interested in continuing the discussion to get to meet together. And we decided to have these potluck picnics in a park to have this discussion. And so starting in June, we're going to have a few each month, one each month, to have these discussions going on. And another thing we want to do was also have article groups, article clubs, to read articles to have discussions. So this is really what we wanted to do afterwards, was continue the discussion that came out of the movie. So we set up these picnics discussions and also article club discussions. And the article that we're reading, and I can share that later, is called The Lay of the Land, Radical Municipalism in the US and Canada. And it's basically organized around 6 nodes of economic democracy, social ecology, municipal socialism, tenant organizing, mutual aid, and indigenous resurgence. So we had some people interested in going to the potlucks and also being part of the article club. So it's in a way, it's a continuing discussion, but I think that because we didn't jump on it soon enough, I think we didn't have a lot of people, they've probably forgot about what we asked them or what we said we were going to do. So that's on us for not getting back. But still, we can always go out again to the group, probably send another email to all the people who participated and remind them again that we're going to have these discussions to continue from the Outgrow the System movie. So that's one thing we're doing. Another thing is that Extinction Rebellion in Portland, we have a set of action criteria, and we use those action criteria to, when we plan an organization, plan an action, we look at those criteria to see that we need to fill those targets and reach those targets that we've put in our action criteria. They include, are we creating a moral dilemma in our actions? Are we having enough outreach and promotion? Are we attracting media coverage? How does it promote the fourth demand that Extinction Rebellion has? And the fourth demand is the social justice demands, economic justice, racial justice, etc. And then we added the well-being economy. Are we bringing up well-being economy in our outreach? And what are we doing there to get that word out about well-being economy? So that's something that we decided to do. And anytime we critique or plan an action, is to make sure we follow our criteria, and well-being or degrowth is part of that criteria that we try to follow. Anybody have any questions so far? And also, we try to talk about well-being economy anytime we're in gatherings, in discussion groups. If we go to, I think we've gone to these Activate Portland meetings, and there you can actually, it's a meeting where you can actually talk about anything. So in other words, you post your talk on the board or meeting, and people will sign up to hear you talk about anything you want to talk about. So it's kind of a great way to get your thoughts across, and it could be something you may know nothing about, or may be very, very knowledgeable about the subject, but you're really gathering people. So we've had the well-being economy, as you know, we post stuff about the well-being economy and have a discussion about that. So we try to raise the awareness about well-being, what well-being economy is, and what degrowth is, and how important it is, create a vision, and to move together as a coalition, as a group of people, not just in silos, but it's really everybody has to be part of this. And so we always spread that word as well, as the importance of creating a vision, but it's a common vision for many groups. And so we really say, really got to work together to fight capitalism. And some of the last things we're doing is a group of us Extinction Rebellion, uh, Jobs with Justice, which is a coalition of community and labor groups, and the Portland Association of Teachers and others are starting to, they looked at this Minnesota model. And the Minnesota model was a model where different community groups and labor groups got together and through planning and trainings and get together, after 10 years, they were able to create, have a lot of victories. And the community organizations with victories, as well as the labor unions. And the labor unions, what they did was they aligned their contracts that they come ready to be negotiated at the same time. So they would have power. And because of that, when that 10 years was reached, they were able to do a lot of good and get their contracts signed, et cetera. So right now, some of the major uh, labor groups in the United States, anyway, are calling for a general strike in 2028. So the groups here were planning toward 2028 and meeting and trying to create coalitions or what we call alignments of different organizations like they did in Minnesota. And then we went to some of the planning meetings. And in those planning meetings, we, in the breakouts, et cetera, we started promoting well-being should be the basis of this model in Portland. And so that's something that we were pushing at these meetings and we're continuing to push within these meetings in the future. So 2028, it's not 10 years, but still, if we don't, we need to act now and get something going. And so that is really how we here are promoting well-being. And anytime we table, we have literature, we talk about well-being and how important it is. So it's something that XR has taken on in a big way and are excited about. Uh, and we just know that the more you talk about it, the more it's out there, the better it is. So from that, that's what I have. And if you have any questions or any further thoughts about what's happening with what's happening in your area, feel free to bring it up.
Yes, please feel free to post your questions in the chat. And Mark, maybe you can talk about some of the specific issues that we're facing people in Portland economically. Portland obviously has a long history of protest over economic issues. So it'd be good for people not from the area to understand more of what's going on in the local situation.
The local situation is that we have uh, a lot of organizations that are fighting against Zenith Energy, which is an energy group that imports crude oil in these big, long tanker trains. They store it in an area which is subject to liquefaction from a major earthquake. They export it via barge to have it processed elsewhere. And they're kind of a bad player within Portland. So there's many groups have been really opposing it. And we thought we had them stopped because the city denied them this land use compatibility statement to allow them to function. But they appealed it. It got appealed all the way to the Oregon Supreme Court. And when it went to the court, it was remanded back to the city to support the city in their judgment. But then before it went, a Supreme Court decision was made, Oregon Supreme Court, they granted the Lux and what the community groups thought was a backroom deal. And so we protested, and now it's in the hands of the Department of Environmental Quality to approve a air quality permit. And right now, they've had a hearing. They postponed the final decision making, but we've been pushing DEQ to deny them that permit. And what's interesting is that we're also going back to the city and saying like we felt that there was a lot of underhandedness here and that you actually should review your land use compatibility statements. That's happening. And also we changed our structure of governance within the city. We used to have a 5 council, including a mayor. Now we have 12 council members covering 4 districts, three each. We also have a mayor and also a city manager. So a whole new structure for the city. And we were able to push, to mobilize, to get four socialists within our city council and a couple other friendly. So we really feel strongly that we have a great council that would be more environmentally conscious. And right now we're fighting the county. A couple of the commissioners want to get rid of a Office of Sustainability, wanted to axe it completely. So we're fighting that as well. So even in a progressive city like Portland, it's always a fight around money because, there's budget issues and there's layoffs and uh, police get a lot of money, but they shouldn't get that much. And so it's really a fight to push our agenda of getting the city to follow their climate emergency plan. And that's been an issue. But we feel hopeful because we have some people that support us within city council. And so budget issues are everywhere. That's money talks, but then when they talk about dropping the Office of Sustainability, it's another fight, just popping up another fight that we here in Portland, environmentalists, are fighting to make sure that we do the right thing environmentally and climate wise.
Should we look at the trailer for the film?
Oh, that'd be great, yeah.
Okay. Let me just share my screen.
The science is clear. Continuing with business as usual is no longer an option.
Can we imagine an alternative system?
They represent the seeds of a radically different economy.
This just changes the economic conversation. This economic system is utterly mismanaging our planetary home. The death of the living world is not an externality. It is the foundation of all life on which everything depends, including, of course, the success of an economy.
We've considered the economy the pinnacle of human civilization, and we tend to subordinate the social, the cultural, the political, and especially the ecological to the economic.
We will explore new economic models and theories. Donut economics, degrowth, economic democracy, participatory economy, and the not-for-profit world.
These are practices that are today a minority. They're happening in the cracks of capitalism. They represent the seeds of a radically different economy. What we need today is to give them space and resources to water them so that they can become the main way of organizing an economy.
It's not never-ending growth. It's balance. It's finding that balance between the social foundation and the ecological ceiling of the donor.
So once we have enough, maybe we don't have to produce more goods and services. Maybe we don't have to sell more stuff.
Where and by whom should decisions be made? What resources should we use and for what?
How can nature have a seat at the table? How can future generations have a seat at the table so that things are governed not only for the short-term interests of the financial owners, but for the long-term interests of society, of the workers, of the living world?
My passion is around trying to demystify the economy and really making it clear that we are the economy, you have a right and a responsibility to have an opinion on it.
Change the system, not the climate, is a common demand for the climate movement. How can we transform the dysfunctional system that we have today to one that can be of service to both people and planet?
We can invent whatever economy we want. Anything that has been socially constructed can be socially deconstructed.
Yes, new economic thinking, not just thinking, new economic doing. Let's put this into practice.
Japan is having fewer babies than ever before.
Sorry about that. Oh, and we have a recommendation from Norway on another film. Oh, no, he says he's just watched the film. Very recommended. Mark, can you tell how you arranged to show the film?
Yeah, we contacted the director, producer directly, and very nice person, very easy to work with. Said we'd like to show the documentary, and so they didn't require much money to show it. In fact, when we raised the money, we charged a little admission fee, and so we raised a bunch of money, and so we sent it to her, and she was shocked that we sent her so much. And so it's, we could have given her $50 to show it, but we gave her close to $200. And she said, because you gave me so much money, I'll allow you to have two other groups show it under that bailiwick. And so we asked a group in Eugene if they wanted to show it, and they said yes. And then we asked the Veterans for Peace. They have a big convention in Las Vegas, and we asked them, and they said they'd be interested in showing it. So, but the Veterans for Peace, I think they're backing out. So we really have one under our financial, I guess, or umbrella that we can allow another group to show it if they want to. But really, you approach the director, and it's been shown worldwide, and they'll provide you with information about how to promote it, and very easy to work with. And that's basically how we did it. Was just contacting the director and got the ball rolling.
Well, there's someone on the call from Corvallis who are very interested in showing it there.
Okay. Yeah, this
And have you guys connected with the We All Economy group?
No.
Are you asking about in Corvallis?
No, but you're welcome to chime in. Did you want to share something, Liv?
Sorry, I've been dealing with technical issues. No, I just thought, because since you had brought up the Corvallis, yeah, we would definitely be interested. We have a group that actually went to the screening that you all organized, and we've been trying to coordinate a screening down here.
Okay, yeah, because we had already given that other two away, but because Veterans for Peace is backing out, that is available. So yes, so I will, if you can provide me your information somehow,
Yeah,
chat, or I'll contact you.
thank you so much. Yeah, I'll put my email in the chat.
Okay, thanks. So that's how we did it, but they're just really great to work for. It really made it easy, and we went to a community college to show it, and we worked well with them, and it turned out to be. It got kind of crazy. We weren't expecting that many people to come, and so when we had more seats than we had more people than seats, and so we said, heck with it, we'll just let people stand in the back. And so the PCC didn't say anything, or at least the projector person didn't say anything. So, but still, it went well, and I thought the panel session went well.
Any other questions for Mark? Anybody else wanting to share experiences with conversations on degrowth?
And I was going to put that article club up. I'm going to copy it and put it in the chat. That way.
Yeah, and if you could share the link to your blogs as well.
I will do that. Yeah, I'll share this first. and then I'll
We do have another question. Irene is asking, do you think film screenings are the best method to spread or normalize conversations around degrowth?
I think yes, because the film is, I thought the documentary was very straightforward and not too detailed, and it really gave a good feel for what degrowth is all about and these other alternate economies. And I know that a lot of people did express interest in continuing the discussion. So I thought that if we would have followed up better, I think it's just that's a lesson learned that you don't want to wait till follow up. But I think it is a good way, at least from my perspective, I think it is a good way to start the conversation, but not the only way. I think it should be a good starting point, and then from there, start contacting the people who came and continue to spread the word in all different types of venues. And that's what we've been doing. We go to these different conferences or meetings of some type, and invariably, bring up, not all the time, but bring up the well-being economy and degrowth. So I think it's one way, but not the only way.
And has XR Portland continued to work with all the people, all the groups you had on your panel?
Yeah, we do. We still connect with them. In fact, well, let me take that back. We've yes, in relationship to what I talked about, this Portland Rising, this Minnesota model, we want to reach out to them and bring them on board for this. So we haven't really done a lot of outreach to them, but with respect of the Minnesota model that we're trying to replicate, we'll be reaching out to them again to bring them into that fold. So we haven't done enough connection with that, but they're always on our mind.
Considering that Extinction Rebellion is known for spicy protests, how is this shift? How did the shift develop within XR Portland?
Well, it's interesting because when it was brought up to people, because we've been focusing on stopping fossil fuel companies and natural gas companies and doing street theater and doing nonviolent direct action. But then when we started talking about this movie and about sharing a vision that we really need to do more than just fight fires, that we really need to create a vision. And that really struck a chord with a lot of people in our group. But we still do what we normally do. This is just, we have a little subgroup that focuses on well-being economy, and but we still have our core mission, but this adds on top of it, and I think it's a nice complement to what we're doing. I don't know if I answered your question, but that we haven't given up on what we normally do. We still have, we're trying to not to get too burned out because it's adding another thing, but it's not really, to me, I think it's worthwhile to do, and it connects us with other groups that are doing similar things and trying to create a better world.
We have another question from Daniel Bachman. He asks, he's wondering if Bhutan's gross national happiness index ever comes up in degrowth conversations. Their approach to forestry and other land stewardship is very cool.
Well, I know that hasn't come up with, we're familiar with it, but it really hasn't come up in conversations. But we're definitely familiar with that concept. And some people asking for my email. I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, that request from Vlad Buena, Vlad has just published some degrowth information with the Post-Carbon Institute. Any other questions from the audience, experiences on degrowth they want to share?
I have a question that's a little hard to write down, if it's okay if I just say it.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, and I think this is a complicated question and maybe even hard to figure out how to word it, but I've been reading and having a lot of conversations about kind of how nonprofits, with the structures that nonprofits have currently, at least within the United States, they're existing within a capitalist system, especially with, their reliance on grants. And as federal grants become more and more challenging, I just wonder, like, what are your thoughts on degrowth working alongside nonprofits, or degrowth within nonprofits? Like, how do you, like, I guess, balance the idea that nonprofits are working within capitalism, but then often if you're working as anti-capitalist movement, does that make any sense?
Yeah, I think, well, to me, it's they have to reevaluate. I mean, it's really degrowth is about looking at the big picture and how we move together as organizations, as individuals, that we need to have there's a better world out there, and it's really weaning ourselves from the capitalist system. So nonprofits have to think about joining that movement, because we all want, I guess it's really changing the focus of what the economic system does in the world. And but I understand your question. It's just, where they fit in, and how they rely on grants, and now grants are being potentially taken away by the Trump administration, and the nonprofit status. So it's kind of a scary world. But then, how do nonprofits do good out there within this degrowth system? That's a good question. I don't really know if I have a good answer for that, other than you're going to have to reevaluate, and it takes a village, and it takes all of us to really move forward in a sustainable way and get what, as a nonprofit, what you want out of life. There are a lot of nonprofits that are out there to protect the environment. I think that's really what needs to be done, is figure out how to collectively protect the environment within a different system, and working with each other, and working together. And that's the key, not working in silos, and coordinate with others. And that's why this Minnesota model that we're working on here was a coalition of different groups that work together to find solutions to what is right, and then make a plan to do it. So, anybody have any other comments about that question? My rambling answer, but I think it's going to take all of us to work together to help each other.
Jennifer's got a question.
Yeah, great job, Mark. Thanks for sharing all of this. As a fellow Portlander and somebody involved in this, I just wanted to say that we had a discussion early on about whether to call it degrowth or not, or what the definition of degrowth was, and it was kind of contentious. And the people in the core group, I think we all agreed that degrowth was a word that was worth it, despite the baggage that it comes with, because there's no, it puts the focus squarely on growth, which is the problem. But in all of the work that we do now, as Mark talked about, there's tons of different stuff going on in Portland, and hopefully you get the feeling of how this is core of how we interact with other groups. And it's not a program, it's the cloth of all our programs are woven from. And we kind of have relaxed the insisting on using the term degrowth, because all of these other things, well-being economy, even the climate justice program that we're fighting for this week at the county level, those things, it's all the same. It's all degrowth, just without the word in it. So I guess what I'm trying to say is don't get too wrapped up on the terminology, because the concepts themselves will attract people, even if, regardless of what you call them. So thanks, Mark.
And there's a question in the chat from Irene about, it's just capacity. We only have so many people within our group, and we try to do outreach. We go to many different events, and we always try to table as much as possible, bring literature, and so, but we're not a big group, and so that's probably the barrier to many groups, is just how many people you have and get the word out. But we do attend a lot of events where we table and have literature about outgrowth. About well-being economy.
Vlad, did you want to share your definition of degrowth from the magazine?
Sure, I'll try. Is my audio okay?
Yep.
So we understand degrowth as an expansion of social agency and well-being for all humans within the limits of Earth through a selective reduction of production and consumption to lighten ecological footprint, planned democratically in the spirit of social justice. So it packs a lot of literature in this definition.
Yeah, I like it.
And I also linked to a paper by Timothée Parik where he reviews 115 definitions. So there's a lot of them up there.
Last month's speaker was John Morrow from the Rutgers, the Degrowth Institute that's just been set up in Chicago. And he talked a lot about the use of the word degrowth and how they've actually found in the last year that the word has been much more accepted. And that, as Jennifer pointed out, that attitudes seem to have changed and that it's worth using that word. Any other questions? Michelle?
Yeah. How useful do you think it would be for groups to do something a little bit more like visioning exercises where you're trying to imagine what a world after some degrowth would look like? I'm just wondering if that's a way to help people get past, some of the hurdles and concerns about moving in this direction. Mark or anyone have thoughts about that?
Thank you. Well, any type of vision exercise is good, I think. And that's why we jumped on this Minnesota model, because it also is a visioning of a way forward, and it's really coalesces what we're trying to do around visioning within the XR group. And then there's other groups like this Activate Portland that is looking at a different type of vision, and so I think it's a good idea.
Sephora Berman, who is the founder of the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty Initiative, posted an article today about imagining a fossil-free future and how difficult that is, and how everything about our status quo society makes it even more difficult to imagine a future without fossil fuels, which is, of course, what we need, and is one of the key elements of degrowth. But I think that leads into the whole discussion about imagining and how do we move past a status quo that is so embedded for such a long time. Any thoughts, Mark?
No, I'm contemplating, but sorry, I'm kind of zoning out, trying to think about it. But no thoughts that pop up. No.
Yeah, I think what one of the things that impressed me when I heard about your project was the number of community groups that you involved, and the fact that you had this panel that was so diverse to talk about the film afterwards.
Yeah, we had the help to get our panelists. We had the help of a group called so I can't remember their name. The New Economy Project. They're a local group here. They facilitate the creation of a caring and regenerative economy for all. And so they are a group that we knew a person who was head of that, and they helped us find panelists that we were trying to get a diverse panel. And so they helped us quite a bit. And so, and we reached out to a bunch of environmental groups, many tabled outside in the hallway, and everybody from Bike Loud, which is a bicycling advocacy group, a bicycling safety advocacy group, to Solar Oregon, which is an educational group for solar panels. And so and Third Act was tabling. So we reached out to a lot of different groups to spread the word about the documentary. And so it really helped us because we really wanted to reach out to these groups anyway. So it was a vehicle to reach out to groups and say, look, would you like to sponsor? So we had quite a few sponsors of the film. And it caused us to connect with people and organizations that we normally wouldn't have connected to and ask them about these things. Like Solar Oregon, they don't get involved in politics. They just promote solar panels. Although they do probably will get involved when they get rid of the federal tax credit for solar panels.
Jennifer?
Yeah, I'm thinking about Michelle's question and visioning, and I kind of feel like that's an aspect that we haven't pursued here in Portland, which would be explicitly bringing in arts groups, maybe to have some sort of a competition around who can come up with the best graphics around degrowth or well-being economy. I'd love to see like some theater or poetry or short stories describing what this version of Portland could be. So I don't know if other groups, have made more progress on that or what we could do here as a next step. I kind of feel like we're fighting fires at the moment, but I would love to see something like that. And I think it's going to be crucial to getting the message out. And like we're living in a world where we just can't even access a vision of what could be. And so people are going to need that help. Yeah, solar punk, same idea.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see the solar punk movement much bigger in, especially in Europe and other parts of the world than it is in North America. Okay, we have a few minutes left. Any other questions, thoughts, comments?
And there's this mentioned the Degrowth Institute has a conference the end of July. I think that's the 26th to the 29th, I believe. But
Yeah, they have a very impressive lineup, actually.
is that the first conference they've had? Or,
They only set up the Chicago Degrowth Institute last year.
okay.
So it's been running for barely a year. I see we have someone from Bay Area Third Act here. Do Third Act have any input on degrowth? Is that part of anything that Third Act do or talk about?
Hi, this is Martha. I'm in Oakland. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hey, the answer is no. We too are a young organization. I heard what you said about the Chicago Institute, formed in 22, focusing on climate and democracy. And our democracy efforts are because that's that's part of what's blocking us getting our
Anybody else? Okay, in the last few minutes, is there anything else you want to share, Mark, or?
Yeah, I think I highly recommend showing the movie, showing the film. I mean, it's it's a good outreach tool, I think, to reach people that may not be in the movement. And I think it's just pretty straightforward and simple message. We have to do more, and so I recommend it. Uh, and like I said, it's not that expensive. I mean, she really doesn't charge very much to show it, and it's been shown worldwide. But when you look at the list of places where it's been shown in the United States, very few places in the United States have actually shown it. It has more resonance worldwide. So I think that um, maybe it's a matter of making something that's more North American. I don't know, but nevertheless, I recommend it and to show that film. And spread the word.
The film talks a lot about donut economics. I saw Kate Raworth is in it. Did people in Portland know about donut economics before you were showing the film?
I don't know a lot, but I was aware of it, and I had read the book before because of the book club. That's
Okay.
words.
Well, it's interesting to see how much is written about degrowth now compared to a couple of years ago when uh, you hardly ever heard about it. And
Mhm.
now there's a master's degree in degrowth offered by a university in Barcelona.
Mm. That's a good place to go back to school.
Yeah, apparently the 25, 26 is already fully fully booked, and they're booking for 26, 27.
Well, great.
Okay, well, if there's no more questions.
And Irene posted something in the chat, so you can actually watch the film at that link.
Oh, that's great.
So they must have, I'm not sure what the director is, they more or less made it, you don't have to go through them to get a license to show it. I don't know. May want to check with the director, but. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think you're supposed to broadcast from PBS.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, public screening, yes.
Especially since PBS's funding is just being canceled like everybody else's.
Yeah.
That's degrowth in a different way.
Okay, well, I appreciate everybody coming, and I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Very interesting and awesome work that you're all doing in Portland.
Okay.